You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Hey, I want to talk about this LSU defense, man. So far, 5 days of practice. It's pretty clear they're improving. We're seeing them make plays. But Brian Kelly said today they still have a long way to go to be considered a good defense. Through 5 practices, what can you realistically decipher from this team?
Well, it's not too much because you have young guys on the team like Dominic McKinley, but then you have guys like Jacoby and Guillory, who's been on the team for a while, but it's a new system. So I wouldn't expect in 5 practices, and I hadn't had a chance to make it out there yet, but I've been checking out some of the videos. I know they've been posting up on YouTube, and you can tell the groups who are ready to roll. Offensive line, ready to roll. Receiving core, ready to roll. The D-line has so much potential because I really trust those 2 guys coaching. Bo Davis and Kevin Peoples. Those are 2 good coaches I know personally going to get it done. But it just takes time for guys to get acclimated to the new system. So that's probably why we don't see a lot of success, particularly in the one-on-one drills, right? And going through those things. But I think once the season gets started and Coach Bo gets the guys he feels ready to go, we'll see a more improved D-line.
How hard is it, Big Fave, for those defensive linemen? You said like to learn a new system or new expectations. Like how hard is it for them to transition there with a new defensive line coach, a new voice?
Well, I think that's a good question, Matt, because it really depends on the player. So, like, give you an example. When Coach Pelini, the first time Coach Pelini came to LSU, it was easy to adjust for guys like me and Glenn because we came from a natural 4-3 system. Whereas when we had guys like Al Woods come in, it took us a little minute to get him acclimated to this style of play because he was just a big guy in the middle, mauling guys in high school. So for him, it took him a little bit of time to get his technique down pat and know how to take on those combination blocks when you're getting a double team or combo blocked up in the middle. So it really depends on the player more than anything else.
Big Fave's with us. You mentioned also like not having success in some of those one-on-ones. Big Fave, what's interesting is so like I've gone and watched a lot of those drills, right? Pass rush drills and all that. And I do my best to chart, wins and losses and push stuff like that. And if I were to give you a big takeaway, it's that the first unit, like LSU's first offensive line, like they're having a ton of success. But when you get to the 2s and the 3s, it's more of a 50-50 O-line. It's more of a fair fight O-line, D-line. What do you make of that?
I mean, that's fair, Matt, because you look at Coach Brad Davis having these guys since baby. Like, I can remember going to this is the senior year of Bo Borderline and Will Campbell and all those guys who were looking at over the summer when they were doing one-on-ones. I saw what Coach Brad Davis fell in love with Will Campbell. Right? And so he had times to mold that top-tier offensive lineman. 3 years these guys has been starters in this system. So that group's going to look good. I know they're going to look better than, maybe the first unit to a certain extent the second unit. Where when you get to the back of the deal, like my little cousin Tyree Adams from Marrero, he'll West Bank. Hello, somebody. I found out he was my cousin last year from my dad. His mom is Boston. I didn't even know he was my cousin. Like
that's
legit,
so good,
I went to the practice. He was like, "Man, you know you're my cousin, huh?" I like, "Well, yeah, my dad just told me. Cousin Barbara said what's up." So but incidentally speaking, I checked him out in high school. Big, aggressive, for a tall guy. He's strong. Kind of puts me in the mindset of Caden Jones in Florida. He was at De La Salle. Those guys kind of came off that same trio O lineman out of New Orleans. Aggressive, and he wants it. I mean, he's from the West Bank of New Orleans, bro. You don't want to come to the bottom, but if you got an opportunity, that O-line getting looked at, man. So if you balling out and you next up, man, you're going to have a lot of potential on the next level. So I am excited to what his future looks like.
Big Fave, you mentioned, guys switching to a new defense. One of those guys is Gio Paez, right? So he comes in from Wisconsin. He was playing end in a 3-4 at Wisconsin. But when we talked to him here on the show, he said his goal, it's time for him to not just eat up blocks, he wants to be a playmaker. So he wants to move inside. What's realistic there for a guy that's been a 3-4 end his whole career, now in his 6th season of college football, kicking inside?
It could be a bit of an adjustment for him, Matt, especially coming from that system. Just to go to the NFL for a second, when Cam Jordan came down here to this 4-3, from a 3-4 where he was that power D and the head up 4, that first year was an adjustment for him. He didn't really get a lot of sacks. He was getting, adjusted to the league. I kind of look at that when you talk about Gio coming from, because what you're switching is in the 3-4 system for guys like him, they can't go wrong. The linebacker's supposed to make you right every time. You can be wrong. It's a 2-gap. You can win front side gap, backside gap. Whereas when you switch to a 4-3, you have to win in your gap. So for a guy like Gio, you put him at the 3-tech, or you put him at the shade or 2-2G technique, and he has to get adjusted to winning in the gap as opposed to eating up the blocks. And I think, just thinking about that switch up for him, I don't think it'll be horrible for him, especially if they use him at the nose like the shade.
What about JVR Suggs, Big Fave? A guy coming from Grand Valley State in Division II, just a completely different level of football. I mean, Big Fave, you walk out there, you stand 10 feet from him, and you realize that's a big dude, man. I mean, enormous arms. You can tell he's got big time upper body strength. But going from Grand Valley to the SEC is just a completely different universe. What do you think about that?
Well, you remember when this was a while back. We had got Claude Roden from JUCO.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, when you come from a different type of system, even from you're talking from Grand Valley to the SEC, it really depends on the player, and I think it's something in the scouting department, the guys scouting and recruiting, and even with Coach Bo Davis, something he liked about him on film that feel like he could fit in his system. So I'm interested in seeing how he's going to work into that rotation. Because this is how I look at it, Matt. What made us successful at LSU, I'm going to go to some fun years, 06, 07. Mm-hmm. We had rotation. Man, I trained with Drake Nevis down here. We trained we trained a couple of NFL guys a couple of weeks ago, but we trained the high school kids here. And Drake was talking to me about his freshman year. He had to play a major role. Glenn was hurt. Some games I was hurt. So having that rotation of reliable guys matter, and it's probably what Coach Bo saw in our guy from Grand Valley.
Mm. Big Fave, when you're saying that, I think of it this way, man. If I spell it out, so you got Tank, Jacoby and Guillory, you got Paez, you got Suggs, you got Jalen Lee, they got Washington, Sean Washington. That's not even count. That's just at tackles. That's not even counting a guy like Dom McKinley on the inside and some of the other young guys. I mean, you got probably a 5-man rotation there of interior defensive tackles that they like. But, Big Fave, I don't know if any of you just mentioned Drake Nevis and Claude Roten. You're mentioning All-Americans, Big Fave. I don't think LSU's got All-Americans on this defensive line. So when you don't have that ability, but you got bodies and numbers, what's the gap? How good can you be when you got numbers, but you don't have the guys you just mentioned?
Man, you got to hope that, in the words of Jay-Z's album Blueprint 3, every day a star is born. So who's going to be that next guy? I mean, you're at the practices now, so you're kind of taking a look at the one-on-one. I mean, it's night and day with our first unit offensive line and let's say the second group of D linemen. So who's going to be willing to take the coaches and staff their weaknesses? That's going to be the tough part, Matt, to be quite honest with you, because we don't have no names outside of, let's go across the line, why don't we? Savion Jones, he has playing time.
Yeah.
Tank, he has playing time. Gio, he has playing time, but he's coming from a totally different conference. So for us, man, this USC game is so important. It's so important because, and even incidentally speaking, the game after Nickel State, because you got to see what young talent you got in that game. But at this USC game, USC going to run that ball right up the middle. It ain't no secret. Forget all the West Coast offense stuff. They're trying to see what they got at quarterback. No more Caleb Williams. They're going to look at the tape from last year, see, okay, yeah, they made a couple moves. Let's see what this LSU D-line is about. And that's where I take it back to 06. Auburn game, 7-6, we lost that game, but some D-lineman was born on that day. So who's going to step up and be the next guy I mentioned? We know Tank has potential. We think he's going to be good. A lot of us was hoping Mason Smith would have came back. He didn't. He went pro. Who's going to be that next guy?
He's Marlon Favorite on Twitter at Big Fave 504. Of course, y'all going to hear him on 100.3 ESPN New Orleans. Big Fave, what else you got in the hopper, man? What else is going on?
Well, of course, we in September we're coming back 5 days a week with the show. Right now, we've been doing Monday shows for Inside the Trenches on the weekend. But man, I just dropped a new album called Lover.
Let's go. Where can we get it, man?
Yeah, y'all can go on Apple Music, type in Big Fave Lover. I got Cupid Shuffle.
Yeah.
He's on my album.
I love
hey
it,
man, look, this my goal, bro. Me and Flaugier got to do a song together.
I love it, dude.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm just excited. Back with LSU Sports Radio. Can't wait to see the new studio and talk about Brandon Taylor's tight shirts and thick arm, Popeye arms. I'm ready. Oh, Hunter Palmer. Hey, Hunter Palmer, stand up and fight. Hey, Hunter Palmer. Hunter Palmer, baby.
Oh, my God. Big Fave, you never disappoint, man. It's always great to chat. We appreciate a couple of minutes, man. We'll see you soon, all right?
Take care, my brother. See you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.